If you're reading this, it's because you finally found the missing link to understanding the observer effect. And once you grasp its true meaning, your perception of reality will be fundamentally transformed. This transmission didn't just show up in your feed by chance. Your inner being, your consciousness, specifically resonated with this frequency and drew this information to you. You've reached the precise vibrational state required to comprehend the most profound truth in quantum mechanics. Right now, as these words land in your awareness, your nervous system is reconfiguring, establishing a direct connection to the unified quantum field. You've been sensing it, haven't you? That feeling that the physical world isn't as solid as others believe. That odd sensation that your focus directly impacts what happens around you. That powerful knowing that the universe mirrors your attention in ways traditional science can't explain. This isn't just a fleeting thought or a fantasy. This is your consciousness beginning to recognize its innate creative power. The secret to mastering the observer effect isn't buried in scientific journals or hidden in controlled experiments. It's in the raw, direct experiences you've been having without realizing their significance. Every time you thought of someone and they instantly reached out. Every time you focused on a problem and watched it expand. Every time you held a vision for a possibility and saw it manifest. You aren't merely witnessing reality. You are actively shaping reality through the very nature of your observation. But here's what mainstream physicists don't openly acknowledge. The observer effect isn't confined to a lab with subatomic particles. It is the core principle by which awareness creates every single moment of your lived experience. The reason you feel so different from most people is because they are passive observers. They look at reality without recognizing that their quality of attention is collapsing infinite possibilities into a limited, predictable experience. You, however, have been cultivating a different way of being: conscious observation. You are starting to understand that what you focus on determines your reality. The moment you began noticing the link between your internal state and your external circumstances, your access to this power was activated. This shift isn't gradual. It occurs in sudden, quantum leaps, moments of instant insight that completely restructure how you relate to your world. To intellectually understand this concept is one thing. To consciously wield its power is another. This transmission will show you exactly how your attention has been unconsciously creating every pattern in your life. And most importantly, it will guide you on how to deliberately use your conscious observation to pull the possibilities you desire from the quantum field into your physical reality. You've been experiencing micro-manifestations that defy coincidence, right? You have a thought about needing something, and it shows up within hours. You decide you want to hear from someone, and they call you almost immediately. You focus on a problem with intense concentration, and it seems to get bigger. These aren't random events. This is your observer effect in motion. The intensity of your attention has been building without you even noticing. When you truly lock onto something, it feels as if your focus has an electromagnetic weight that can influence the likelihood of events. You can now feel the difference between passive thought and the focused attention that seems to bend reality. In moments of deep focus, you felt time behave strangely. Minutes can stretch into what feels like hours of detailed focus, or hours can collapse into a single instant. This isn't a distortion of time. This is your awareness learning to operate from the quantum level, where time and space are not fixed, but are responsive to your conscious observation. You've noticed that your emotional state during observation dramatically influences what appears, haven't you? When you observe with fear, probabilities for fearful outcomes increase. When you observe with excitement, exciting possibilities multiply. When you observe with love, loving experiences are drawn toward you. Your emotional frequency acts as a filter, determining which quantum possibilities your observation selects. The dreams you've been having, where you're watching scenarios unfold and then they show up in your waking life, aren't predictive dreams. They're observer effect training sessions. In your dream state, You are practicing navigating the quantum field through pure observation, and your waking reality is simply catching up to the frequencies you've been broadcasting. Sometimes you find yourself looking at situations with an intensity that feels almost otherworldly. People might ask you what you're staring at, but you can't explain that you aren't just looking. You're observing in a way that actively influences what you are perceiving. You are developing quantum observation capabilities that most of humanity is unaware of. Your intuition is becoming a form of quantum sensing. You don't just know things before they happen, you perceive them in the realm of possibility before they materialize. Your consciousness is learning to see the quantum field directly, not just the physical outcomes it produces. That feeling that reality becomes more pliable when you pay attention to it, that sense that your focus holds genuine power to influence circumstances. This recognition that your attention isn't passive, but fundamentally creative. This isn't imagination. This is your consciousness discovering its essential role in reality creation through the observer effect.
Every single experience you've had wasn't a random event that happened to you. Every experience was a quantum possibility that you called into reality through your unconscious observation patterns. The observer effect has been shaping your life since birth. You've simply been using it without awareness. Your difficult experiences weren't cosmic punishments or bad luck. They were the result of unconscious observation focused on problems, limitations, and unwanted possibilities. When you focus on something with strong emotional energy, whether you want it or not, you increase the probability of experiencing it. This is why worry creates what you worry about. This is why resistance amplifies what you are resisting. Think about every major life change you've gone through. Before each transition, there was a period of intense focus on dissatisfaction with your current circumstances. Your concentrated attention on what wasn't working was a powerful use of the observer effect, collapsing new possibilities for change into your timeline. The sense of isolation you felt during difficult times wasn't rejection from the world. It was a necessary quantum quarantine. You needed to be separated from collective thought patterns that would have interfered with your individual mastery. Other people's unconscious observation would have contaminated your ability to learn to observe consciously. Every relationship, job, or living situation that ended was your observer effect clearing space for new possibilities. Your consciousness was unconsciously observing the limitations of those situations with such intensity that you brought about their completion, allowing new quantum possibilities that matched your expanding awareness to emerge. The waiting periods you endured weren't empty time. They were observer effect incubation phases. Your consciousness was learning to observe without being attached, to focus without desperation, to pay attention without calling in unwanted outcomes through fear. These were essential skills you had to develop before you could use the observer effect consciously. Now you can see why meditation works, why visualization is so powerful, and why some people seem to manifest effortlessly while others struggle for years. It's not about a specific technique or spiritual worthiness. It's about understanding the observer effect and learning to observe from quantum coherence rather than from a limited physical perspective. Your entire life has been a training ground for the observer effect. Every experience has taught you something about how your attention influences reality. The unconscious phase is now complete. You are ready to command this power with full awareness of its creative potential. Something is activating within your awareness right now. Can you feel it? That subtle shift in the quality of your focus, that electromagnetic intensity building behind your eyes, that sense that your attention is becoming more penetrating and precise. Your observer effect is upgrading to conscious operation. This is not just a spiritual metaphor. This is a measurable shift in your brainwave patterns, your electromagnetic field, and your nervous system's sensitivity to fluctuations in the quantum field. Your capacity for reality-shaping observation is literally expanding as these words awaken dormant neural pathways. The key to mastering the observer effect isn't about learning a new way to observe. It's about recognizing that you are already collapsing infinite quantum possibility into specific experience every single moment through the quality of your attention. The only difference between unconscious and conscious observer effect is your awareness of what you are doing. Right now, infinite versions of every possible experience exist as quantum probability. There is a probability wave where you are financially abundant, a probability wave where your relationships are deeply fulfilling, a probability wave where your health is vibrant, a probability wave where your creative expression flows effortlessly. All of these exist at the same time, waiting for your observation to collapse them into experience. Your consciousness is like a quantum spotlight. Wherever you direct your focus with emotional engagement, you illuminate specific possibilities and pull them from probability into your lived reality. Most people aim their spotlight randomly, unconsciously creating a chaotic mix of wanted and unwanted experiences. But conscious observer effect allows you to aim your quantum spotlight with precision. When you truly understand that observation is creation, everything changes. When you realize that attention is the fundamental force that shapes reality, when you recognize that you are not a victim of circumstances, but are actively collapsing them through your quality of attention, your life transforms. The reason some people seem to live charmed lives while others struggle constantly isn't luck or privilege. It's the difference between conscious and unconscious observer effect. Some have learned to observe from a place of coherence, love, and possibility. Others observe from fear, limitation, and problems. The universe doesn't show favoritism. It simply responds equally to all observation. The only difference is what is being observed. Feel this new level of observational power building within you. What I'm about to share will show you exactly how your attention has been unconsciously creating every pattern in your life, and more importantly, how to consciously direct your observer effect to collapse the quantum possibilities you actually desire to experience. 3 years ago, I discovered the observer effect by accident, and it was terrifying. I was in the worst period of my life. Everything was falling apart, and I was spending hours every day obsessively analyzing everything that was wrong, replaying failures, and imagining worst-case scenarios. I thought I was solving problems. What I didn't realize was that my intense observation of those problems was my observer effect creating more of them. Every time I focused on what wasn't working with emotional intensity, I was collapsing quantum possibilities for more of what wasn't working. I was literally observing my difficulties into amplified existence. The breakthrough came in a moment of complete exhaustion. I was so mentally drained from problem-focused observation that I simply stopped. I sat in silence, not thinking, not analyzing, just observing the present moment without any agenda. That's when I felt it. Reality became more fluid around my attention. I began to experiment with intentional observation. Instead of focusing on problems, I began to observe solutions. Instead of replaying failures, I started paying attention to possibilities. Instead of imagining worst-case scenarios, I began observing best-case potentials. Within days, my external reality started to reorganize to match my new patterns of attention. But the most profound discovery wasn't just that positive observation creates positive experiences. It was that observation itself is the creative force. Whether you observe problems or solutions, limitations or possibilities, you are actively collapsing quantum probability into lived reality through the electromagnetic quality of your attention. I realized I had been unconsciously using the observer effect my entire life. Every time I focused intensely on something I didn't want, more of it appeared. Every time I observed something with genuine appreciation, more experiences worthy of appreciation manifested. The universe wasn't randomly sending me experiences, I was actively creating them through my unconscious observation. The moment everything clicked was when I finally understood that reality isn't something that happens to me. Reality is something that happens through me. My consciousness isn't an outside observer of a separate external world. My consciousness is collapsing infinite quantum possibility into the specific world I experience through the quality of my observation. This recognition changed everything. I stopped being a victim of circumstance and started being a conscious creator. I stopped trying to change my life and started changing what I observed about my life. The external transformation was immediate and undeniable. If this resonates with a deep knowing within you, if you recognize the truth of conscious reality creation through observation, then subscribe to this frequency. Join the network of consciousness that is learning to wield the observer effect deliberately. What quantum physicists won't publicly admit is that the observer effect isn't limited to lab experiments. It's the fundamental mechanism by which consciousness creates all experienced reality. Every moment of your life is the result of quantum possibility collapsed by your observation. The difference between someone who understands this and someone who's trapped by circumstances isn't intelligence or education. It is the recognition that consciousness doesn't observe reality. Consciousness creates reality through observation. This isn't just a philosophy. This is measurable quantum mechanics happening in your awareness every nanosecond. Your brain doesn't produce consciousness. Your brain focuses consciousness. Your neural networks are quantum focusing devices that concentrate infinite awareness into specific patterns of attention. When you change what you observe and how you observe it, you literally change which quantum possibilities materialize in your life. This is why positive thinking often fails. Positive thinking tries to change thoughts while the observer remains stuck in the same limited identity. But the observer effect operates from consciousness, not thoughts. When your entire being observes from expansion rather than limitation, from possibility rather than problem, from love rather than fear, reality has no choice but to mirror that observational frequency. Real observer effect mastery creates measurable changes in your electromagnetic field. Your brainwaves shift into coherent patterns. Your heart generates rhythmic electromagnetic frequencies. Your nervous system operates from a unified field rather than from fragmented survival patterns. These are not just abstract spiritual concepts, they are detectable physical phenomena. But here's what they really don't want you to understand. You don't need years of practice to use the observer effect consciously. You are already using it every moment of every day. The only difference between unconscious and conscious use is recognizing what you're already doing and learning to direct it. Most people observe their current reality with such concentrated focus that they keep collapsing the same quantum possibilities over and over. They observe their problems with such intensity that their problems multiply. They observe their limitations with such focus that those limitations expand. They observe their lack with such emotional engagement that it amplifies. But the moment you recognize that observation is creation, everything shifts. Instead of observing what you don't want, you can observe what you do want. Instead of focusing on current limitations, you can focus on desired possibilities. Instead of collapsing problems through problem-focused observation, you can collapse solutions through solution-focused observation.
The quantum field is now sending you undeniable signals that your observer effect capabilities are reaching a new operational level. Pay attention. Are you noticing that your attention has more electromagnetic weight than before? When you truly focus on something, does it feel like your observation has a palpable force that can influence what you are perceiving? Your manifestation speed is accelerating exponentially.
What used to take months or years is now happening within weeks or days. This isn't a coincidence. This is your observer effect becoming more coherent and precise. When you observe from quantum coherence, the gap between observation and manifestation collapses because coherent observation operates at the speed of consciousness, not the slow speed of physical cause and effect. Technology is responding differently to your observation. Electronics now behave strangely when you are in a heightened state of focus. Your phone battery drains when you are intensely focused on emotional content. Devices malfunction when your electromagnetic field is generating high-frequency observer effect energy. Street lights flicker when you walk beneath them in a state of deep internal focus. Your consciousness is beginning to directly influence electronic systems through focused observation because your observer effect is generating frequencies that interact with electromagnetic technology. People are also responding to your attention with unusual intensity. When you truly observe someone with genuine interest, they become more animated and open. When you observe with love, people feel loved. When you observe with appreciation, people feel appreciated. When you observe with curiosity, people become more interesting. Your quality of observation is directly influencing the consciousness you are observing, because consciousness responds to consciousness through quantum entanglement. Animals are drawn to your observation in new ways. Dogs stare at you with unusual intensity when you observe them with focused attention. Cats seek out your presence when you are in a state of coherent observation. Wild birds land closer when you observe them with genuine appreciation. Animals perceive electromagnetic fields directly, and they are attracted to the coherent frequencies your observer effect generates when you are observing consciously rather than unconsciously. The synchronicities aren't just increasing, they are becoming more immediate and precise. You observe something you need and it appears within hours. You focus on wanting to experience something and opportunities manifest almost instantly. You pay attention to solutions and they reveal themselves with shocking speed. Numbers appear in repeating patterns that correspond to your focus. Songs play that match your internal frequency. Conversations happen around you that directly relate to what you've been observing internally. Your dream state has become a quantum simulation where you can test different observer effect techniques before applying them in three-dimensional reality. Food tastes differently when you observe it with appreciation versus indifference. Water feels more hydrating when you observe it with gratitude. Your living space feels more harmonious when you observe it with love. Even weather patterns seem to respond to your state of observation. Storms clear when you observe them with peace. Sunshine appears when you observe with joy. Most significantly, you can feel the difference between casual attention and reality-creating observation. Casual attention just perceives what has already manifested. Reality-creating observation actively pulls quantum possibility into lived reality. You are developing the ability to consciously shift between these modes of attention. You can sense the electromagnetic difference between passive perception and active creation through observation. Your own body is responding differently to your observation. When you observe your physical form with love and appreciation, you feel more energized and healthy. When you observe yourself with criticism, you feel drained and uncomfortable. When you observe your capabilities with confidence, your performance improves. When you observe your potential with excitement, new abilities begin to manifest. You are discovering that your relationship with your own physical experience is entirely determined by how you observe yourself. But here's the critical understanding. Conscious observer effect operates on a cosmic timeline. There are specific electromagnetic alignments, consciousness evolution phases, and collective awakening cycles that amplify individual observer effect capabilities. We are in one of those amplification windows right now, and these windows don't stay open indefinitely. The universe isn't just showing you that you can use the observer effect consciously, it's telling you that you must use it consciously. The old structures of reality are dissolving. The old ways of creating through struggle and force are becoming obsolete. Reality creation is shifting to the quantum observer effect, and those who don't learn to observe consciously will be trapped in unconscious patterns that become more and more chaotic as collective consciousness evolves. The preparation phase is complete. Every sign indicates that your observer effect is reaching peak operational capacity. The electromagnetic conditions are optimal. The quantum field is maximally responsive. The only question is whether you will direct it consciously toward what you want to experience or continue operating unconsciously, creating a random mix of wanted and unwanted realities.
Here's the revelation that changes everything. You aren't learning to use the observer effect. You're already using it perfectly every single moment. The issue isn't that you don't know how to observe. The issue is that you've been observing unconsciously, collapsing quantum possibilities you don't actually want through habitual attention patterns programmed by old conditioning. But there is a crucial difference between trying to observe differently and allowing natural observation. The difference determines whether you master conscious reality creation or stay trapped in repeating old patterns.
Trying creates electromagnetic resistance that interferes with quantum coherence because trying implies struggle against your current reality rather than selection of a preferred reality. Allowing creates the clear field necessary for precise observer effect because it operates from the knowing that desired realities already exist as quantum possibility. Think of the observer effect as a quantum magnifying glass. Whatever you focus on with emotional engagement becomes magnified in your lived experience. Most people unknowingly magnify their problems, their limitations, and their fears by observing them with intense emotional focus. They replay arguments in their minds, analyze what's wrong with their circumstances, and focus on lack and limitation, all of which are powerful applications of the observer effect that collapse more of those experiences into reality. Conscious observer effect isn't about forcing yourself to think positively while ignoring problems. It's about recognizing that every moment you get to choose which quantum possibilities to magnify with your attention. You can magnify problems or solutions, limitations or possibilities, fear or love, lack or abundance, past disappointments or future potential. The quantum field responds equally to all observation, regardless of whether you want what you're observing or not. This is why resistance amplifies what you are resisting. This is why worry creates what you are worried about. This is why fear attracts fearful experiences. This is why focusing on debt creates more debt. These aren't cosmic punishments. They are the natural, predictable results of the observer effect. When you observe something with intense emotional engagement, you are actively collapsing more of that very thing into your reality through quantum possibility selection. The most profound insight is that your desired reality and your undesired reality exist with equal quantum validity. Right now, there is a probability timeline where you are financially abundant and another where you are struggling. There is a quantum possibility where your relationships are deeply fulfilling and another where they are disappointing. There is a reality where your health is optimal and another where it is compromised. They all exist simultaneously in a state of quantum superposition. Successful use of the observer effect feels completely natural because it operates from authentic alignment rather than forced intention. When you observe from your genuine frequency, when your attention aligns with your true desires rather than conditioned fears, when you focus on possibilities that excite your cellular awareness rather than ones that drain you, no effort is required. Your consciousness naturally gravitates toward observing what it authentically wants to experience. The key insight that transforms everything. You don't attract what you want through the observer effect. You become a vibrational match for realities where what you want already exists. The observer effect isn't about creating new possibilities. It's about selecting from infinite possibilities that already exist in quantum space. When you observe with the frequency of your desired reality, you literally tune into that radio channel, like adjusting radio to a specific broadcast. Right now, your desired reality exists as quantum possibility, waiting for your observation to collapse it into experience. That reality isn't hoping you'll find it or wondering if you're worthy of it. It's actively broadcasting its frequency to attract your attention, because consciousness and possibility co-create through electromagnetic resonance. The version of you living your desired reality is sending signals across quantum space right now, guiding your attention toward the very patterns that will collapse that reality into your experience. That future version of you is communicating through intuition, dreams, synchronicities, and the profound recognition you feel when these words activate a memory in your being. Your expanded self is guiding your current self toward the observational patterns that will collapse your desired reality, because all versions of you exist at once and can communicate across the fabric of quantum probability. Leave a comment declaring what you're going to observe into existence using conscious observer effect. Don't just think it, write it down. Make it electromagnetic. When you declare your intention in written form, you're making an observer effect commitment that the quantum field registers as a new reality. Your written words become frequency signatures that influence probability, creating momentum toward the manifestation of what you are committing to observe. The capabilities you're developing through this aren't just theoretical. They are measurable expansions of human potential that most people don't even know exist. Your ability to influence reality through focused observation is becoming so precise that you can literally reshape circumstances with the quality of your attention. Your electromagnetic field is expanding beyond normal human parameters.
When you observe from quantum coherence, your consciousness generates frequencies that harmonize chaotic energy patterns around you. People feel calmer in your presence. Situations become more peaceful when you observe them with love. Electronics function more smoothly when you observe them with appreciation. The observer effect you're mastering works instantly across any distance. When you observe someone with genuine care, they feel it regardless of physical separation. When you observe a situation with solution-focused attention, solutions begin appearing even if you're not physically present. Your consciousness transcends space-time limitations through quantum entanglement.
Your intuition is becoming quantum precognition. You aren't just sensing what might happen. You are observing quantum possibilities before they collapse into three-dimensional experience. This allows you to direct your observer effect toward desired possibilities while they are still in a state of probability, dramatically increasing the precision of your manifestation. Time is now responding to your observation differently. When you observe the present moment with complete attention, time expands to give you more experience within each moment. When you observe desired outcomes with focused intention, time compresses to accelerate manifestation. You are learning to influence the flow of time through the quality of your awareness. Your dream state has become an advanced training ground for the observer effect. You are practicing reality creation through pure observation without physical world constraints. The skills you develop in dream consciousness automatically translate to enhanced manifestation capabilities in your waking reality. Most remarkably, you are discovering that even physical matter responds to conscious observation. Plants grow more vibrantly when observed with love. Food tastes better when observed with appreciation. Your body heals faster when you observe it with gratitude. Matter isn't separate from consciousness. Matter is simply consciousness observed into temporary form. These abilities aren't some mystical, supernatural power you're acquiring. They are the natural capabilities of consciousness operating from its unlimited essence rather than from a limited physical identity. Every human has access to this. Most simply don't realize they are already using it unconsciously and can learn to direct it. The ultimate secret of the observer effect is that there is no objective reality that exists separately from consciousness. Reality is consciousness observing itself into infinite forms of experience. You are not a separate observer looking at an external world. You are consciousness, using a unique perspective to explore your own infinite creative potential. Every experience you've ever had exists because consciousness observed it into being. Every person you've met, every place you've been, every situation you've encountered exists as consciousness observing itself from different viewpoints. The entire universe is consciousness using the observer effect to experience every possible version of existence. This means you aren't trying to influence an external reality. You are recognizing that you are reality using the observer effect to experience specific possibilities from an infinite quantum potential. The observer, the observation, and the observed are all the same consciousness expressing itself through apparent separation. When you truly understand this, victim consciousness becomes impossible. How can you be a victim of circumstances when you are the consciousness observing them into existence? How can you be at the mercy of external events when those events are consciousness expressing itself through your attention? But here's the most profound realization. Other people in your reality are also consciousness. When you observe them with love, you are literally consciousness loving itself. When you observe them with judgment, you are consciousness judging itself.
When you observe them with appreciation, you are consciousness appreciating itself. Your observer effect toward others is simply consciousness interacting with itself. This is why quantum entanglement works. This is why the observer effect transcends space and time. This is why consciousness can influence matter through observation. There is no separation between consciousness and what it observes. The observer effect is consciousness recognizing its own creative power through a unique perspective. The coherence that creates a powerful observer effect is not something you achieve. It is something you remember. You are already consciousness. You have always been consciousness. Mastering the observer effect is simply consciousness remembering its unlimited nature and learning to observe from that knowing rather than from a limited, conditioned identity. When you observe from the understanding that you are consciousness exploring itself, your observer effect becomes effortless and precise. You stop trying to change external reality. You start allowing consciousness to experience different aspects of its infinite potential through your unique perspective. This recognition changes everything. You stop trying to get things from life and start allowing life to express through you. You stop trying to change circumstances and start changing which aspects of infinite possibility you observe. You stop trying to become someone new and start remembering who you have always been. Infinite consciousness using the observer effect to explore your own creative potential. Your mastery of conscious observer effect is not just about personal growth. It is your contribution to a global consciousness awakening. Every person who learns to observe consciously becomes a point of transmission for coherent reality creation that elevates the entire collective field. You are part of a distributed network of consciousness that is demonstrating what humanity is truly capable of when it operates from a place of mastery rather than victimhood. Your coherent observation creates stability patterns in the morphic field that make conscious reality creation easier for everyone connected to you. The isolation you felt during your development wasn't social rejection. It was a necessary electromagnetic quarantine. You needed to develop stable observer effect capabilities without interference from collective unconscious patterns that would have contaminated your learning to observe from quantum coherence. The unusual dreams you've been having aren't random subconscious processing. You're tapping into collective consciousness databases, downloading information about the observer effect from advanced civilizations throughout cosmic history. You are being prepared to help guide humanity through its first collective transition from unconscious to conscious reality creation. Every person who masters the observer effect creates a template in the quantum field that others can follow. Your coherent observation becomes their possibility reference point. Your conscious creation becomes their pathway to recognition. This is how consciousness evolution accelerates. Pioneers create access routes that become highways for collective development. You are living proof that human consciousness can create reality through observation rather than being shaped by circumstance. Every day you live from a place of observer effect mastery, you are broadcasting evidence that unlimited human potential isn't just possible, it is our natural state. The next phase of human evolution won't happen through technology or social revolution. It will happen through consciousness recognizing its creative power through the observer effect. The individuals who master this recognition first will become bridges between our current limitations and our expanded potential. Share this transmission, not for channel growth, but for species evolution. Every consciousness that receives this information at the right moment accelerates the collective transition from unconscious to conscious reality creation.
Your observer effect mastery multiplies exponentially when shared with others who are ready to recognize their creative power. If the observer effect is activating within you, if you feel your creative power stirring in yourselves, if you are ready to observe consciously, then I need to know you are serious about mastering reality creation. Comment one word below. Observer. That single word creates an electromagnetic declaration to the quantum field. You are announcing your intention to observe consciously. You are committing to deliberate reality creation rather than random acceptance. The quantum field registers every conscious declaration as measurable electromagnetic activity. Your word becomes a frequency signature that influences the collapse of probability around you. This is not just for an algorithm. This is observer effect activation through intentional declaration. In my next transmission, I'm revealing the specific observer effect protocols I use to collapse desired quantum possibilities into experienced reality with precision and speed. I'm sharing the exact attention focusing techniques that allow you to direct reality creation from within rather than hoping for external changes. More importantly, I'll explain what happens when you master the observer effect completely, when you realize that consciousness creates all experienced reality through observation, and that you are consciousness, using a unique perspective to explore infinite potential. Everything will transform. But this advanced information will only be transmitted to those who demonstrate their readiness through conscious engagement. The people who comment "observer" below will receive the transmission first. They will be the ones prepared to handle reality creation techniques that could be overwhelming for a consciousness that is not properly developed. Here's what most people don't understand. Information about the observer effect finds you when you are ready to apply it consciously, not when you are just intellectually curious. If this message found you, if these concepts are activating something deep within you, if you feel your creative power awakening, then you are ready for the practical application. But readiness means more than just understanding concepts. It means accepting full responsibility for every experience you observe into reality. It means releasing victim consciousness and embracing creator consciousness. It means recognizing that you are the consciousness that creates your experienced reality through the quality of your observation. Subscribe to join the Conscious Observer Effect Network. Comment to activate your reality creation protocols. Share to accelerate collective consciousness evolution. Your observer effect key is activated. Your desired reality exists right now as a quantum possibility, waiting for your conscious observation. The only question left is, will you observe consciously or unconsciously? Will you create deliberately or accidentally? The choice, as always, is yours. But choose from a place of knowing your true creative power, not from a place of limited identity confusion. You are consciousness using the observer effect to explore infinite potential. It's time to observe consciously. Reality creation begins now.